Okay. And I'm
Let's
ready
see.
anytime.
All right, I am starting your live stream. Just 1 second.
Okay. I published one of them. The one you see,
Okay.
the one you see in my back area that is unpublished, where I've already got the title, Dr. Clara Gubats.
Yeah,
That one is a Brad Sugars recording, also.
gotcha.
Yeah, but I did publish the Brad Sugars recording.
Gotcha. All right, here are the tunes. You have a great show, Brian.
Thanks.
It's time for Success Profiles Radio with your host, Brian K. Wright. Have you ever wondered if there's
1 second, it's not going out.
It's time for Success Profiles Radio with your host, Brian K. Wright. More to life than you're currently living? Then Success Profiles Radio is the program for you. It's time for Success Profiles Radio with your host, Brian K. Wright. Have you ever wondered if there's more to life than you're currently living? Then Success Profiles Radio for you. Every week, we'll explore different aspects of success and how to apply them to your life. Guests will come from many different backgrounds, including expertise in leadership, business, relationships, careers, networking, health, overcoming adversity, and much more. Every show is a dose of inspiration. This is Success Profiles Radio. And now, here's your host, Brian K. Wright.
Hello and welcome to Success Profiles Radio. I'm your host, Brian K. Wright, and it's an absolute pleasure to be with you here today. I'm honored that you chose to spend part of your day with me here, and this is going to be a fantastic show. I do want to take a minute or two to share some things I've been learning and thinking about lately, and I typically do this every single week. Life is like a jigsaw puzzle, except you don't get to see the box first. If you think about that, it's actually true. Oftentimes we go through life wondering why certain things happen to us or for us. With every situation we go through, it's like God is giving us a puzzle piece. Early on, the pieces we are given may not go together. In fact, we might not think anything we see makes any sense. But as we progress through life, some of the pieces begin to fit. And as we get closer to the end, we realize what the box might actually look like. When we reach that realization, it all becomes clear, and there is no point in comparing your journey to someone else's because that person wasn't given the same puzzle you were given. There's no such thing as cheating off of someone else's paper, so to speak. But other people can give us the wisdom we need at the right moment. And even more importantly, God gives us all the wisdom we need. All we have to do is ask for it. And if you have not downloaded and subscribed to Success Profiles Radio on Apple Podcasts or iTunes, please do that. Leave a 5-star review. That would be awesome. You can also leave 5 stars on Spotify. You can also hear the show on Amazon, on Audible, on iHeartRadio, and everywhere that fine shows like this can be heard. And excited to let you know that the show is still a top 200 podcast on iTunes in the business category. And this week, this show is ranked number 9 in careers. And so it's a top 10 show in careers. So we're very excited for all of you who are listening and subscribing. So thank you for that in advance. This week it's just us. I don't have a guest. Occasionally I like to do the show by myself with you. And this week I'm going to share a bunch of things that I've been learning and thinking about and things that have helped me in my journey. And if you're taking some notes, you can feel free to do that. If you missed something, you could hear the replay when it's available. So with that in mind, here we go. Number 1. There's always something to be thankful for. It's very easy to be thankful for things when they are going well. It's very easy to be thankful for the good things we experience, such as relationships with friends and family, having a career, having a place to live, having food to eat, for our health. Those are all things that are very worthy of being grateful for. But it's also critical that we be grateful when things are not going well, because when we prove that we can be thankful for where we are, we will be given a lot more to be thankful for later. And sometimes if you're going through a struggle, it can be counterintuitive and even ridiculous sounding to be thankful for the really hard things that you're going through. But those really hard things are preparing you for the blessing that God has in store for you. So be thankful for everything, big and small, good and bad and ugly, because it all leads to a path somewhere. Number 2, I want to talk about the idea of genius. And I've talked about this before on the show. My definition of genius is the art of making something difficult look completely effortless. My favorite example of this would be Gene Kelly. From Singing in the Rain, you might remember the Good Morning scene that he did with Donald O'Connor and Debbie Reynolds. Of course, Gene Kelly choreographed all of his dances, not only for himself, but the people he was dancing with in his movies. And he is brilliant. He makes it look so effortless, but we all know that if we tried doing some of the things that he practiced for many, many years doing, it wouldn't come off very well. The art of genius is making really difficult things look easy. And if you think about the World Cup soccer tournament that's going on right now, it is mind-blowing to me how these guys can handle the ball with just their feet and with their heads. They can headbutt the ball into the goal, and they make it look really easy, although it's very difficult because they practice timing, they practice hitting the ball with every part of their bodies except for their hands. They just make it look easy, and it's not. So genius is making something difficult look really, really effortless, and I appreciate that definition very much. Number 3, a book I listened to on Audible a couple of years ago was by James Altucher. It's called Think Like a Billionaire. In this book, he interviewed 11 billionaires to gain their insights, and I really do recommend investing a credit in that book because it's fantastic. One of the interviews he did was with Sarah Blakely, who invented Spanx from her apartment with only $5,000, and now she's an occasional guest investor on Shark Tank. Here are a few of my biggest takeaways from that specific interview. Number 1, don't be afraid to embarrass yourself. The first time you try anything, you're probably not going to be very good at. In fact, I post on Facebook pretty frequently that your greatest hit is very likely not going to be the very first thing you do. Let's say, for example, you have a sales job and you are presenting to a potential customer for the very first time coming out of training. You might not be very confident and you might not be very competent. But the more you do it, the better you get. In fact, Alex Hormozy talks about doing something 100 times before you start to feel even competent at something. If you do something 1,000 times, you're probably going to be pretty good at it. If you do that same thing 10,000 times, you can be world class at something. It's not just 10,000 hours, it's 10,000 repetitions. That's the key. If you can do something 10,000 times, chances are you're going to be pretty good at that thing. But don't be afraid to embarrass yourself in front. The second thing I got from that interview was that failure is not about the outcome. It's about not trying at all. So really, failure is about the destination. It's not about the result, because if you don't try at all, you're never going to succeed at anything. And so get on the horse, keep trying, keep trying, keep trying, fail a few times, get up, keep trying, fail a few more times, and then finally you will be good at what you do, just like I mentioned earlier. The third thing I got from it is that she got the order and then figured out how to fulfill it. Sometimes when we start a new adventure in business, whether it's our own company, whether it's starting at a job, we feel like we want to have all the ducks in a row before we'll make that first call. Sometimes you might need cash right now. You may not have time to get your website perfect yet. You might not have time to get as many leads as you're going to need in your campaign yet. Get a few leads, start calling on people, whether it's on the phone, whether it's in person, whether it's door to door, whatever it happens to be. Sarah Blakely went door to door, and she realized that she needed to get the order because she needed cash coming in the door, and then she figured out how to fulfill it. Because let's face it, if you talk to a bunch of people about the thing you're trying to sell and no one buys it, none of the other stuff even makes any sense at all. So get the order and then figure out how to fulfill it. Just get out there and just start going now. The fourth thing I got out of it was hire your weaknesses as soon as you can afford it. In the beginning, you're going to do everything yourself, but you're not going to be good at everything you do. you're going to realize the Pareto principle is true for you in your business. 20% of your activities will generate 80% of the results that you will have in your business. And so figure out what that 20% is for you, get really good at it, and then outsource the 80% that you can't do or do not want to do, and do it before you think you can afford it. Because if you are hiring someone that gives you a return on your investment, then that is going to be worth it. If they're adding to your bottom line, if you're adding someone who can manage your calendar, if you're adding a salesperson, if you're adding an appointment center who can tee up some of these leads for you so that you can spend more time in front of people who actually want to talk to you instead of spending time with people who won't answer the phone, you're going to be ahead faster. So hire your waitresses as soon as you can afford it. And the biggest takeaway is you don't have to have the most money or experience, you just have to care the most. And believe me, people can tell when you care versus when you're just looking at the money. If someone is talking to you about the thing that they want you to buy, you can smell commission breath a mile away. But if you can tell that they care and they are listening, you are much more likely to give that person the business. So it's not about having the most money or the most experience, it's about caring the most. Number 4, what do you do when difficult times hit you? Keep this in mind. Firefighters run into the burning building, not away from it. And that is so important to think about, because if you watch Chicago Fire or any of these fire shows, they're running into the burning building. They run into the danger. There would be no reason for them to exist if they weren't willing to do that. And so sometimes in life we have to run into the fire. We have to go toward the thing that we fear the most, and then we just deal with it, and then we figure it out. We don't know what's going on until we go inside that burning building. We don't know what the need is. We don't know who's there. We don't know who needs rescuing. We don't know how to properly diagnose the situation. You have to be in the middle of the storm to figure out what's going on. So when times get tough, don't be afraid to run into the burning building. That's where the action is. Number 5, do something every day in pursuit of your goals. Jack Canfield, in his book The Success Principle, famously talks about his rule of 5. And what that means is do 5 things every single day in the pursuit of your goals. You can do all 5 things toward one goal, or you can pick one thing toward 5 goals. It doesn't really matter, but do 5 things every single day to move you closer to where you really, really want to be. And we are coming up on our very first break. I can't believe how quickly that first segment went. We got through 5 things that I've learned in my journey, and we'll talk about a whole lot more when we come back. We'll talk about how to decide what to say yes or no to. We'll talk about taking responsibility for your life. We'll talk about writing things down before your next day, and so much more. We will come back right after the break. This is Success Profiles Radio. Please stay with us. Don't go away. We will be right back on the other side.
The mission is to motivate and inspire others to discover their unique talents and follow their dreams in life. This is Success Profiles Radio.
Have you ever thought about writing a book? Surveys show that 81% of people wish they could, but many never do. If you're one of those people, I can tell you why. You don't think you have time, you may not know how, or you might not believe you are a good enough writer. When you're working with an experienced coach, these reasons go away because I will help you every step of the way. If you want to know more about how to write a nonfiction book, whether it's business, self-help, or how-to, reach out to me at www.briankwright.com for more information. Once again, that's briankwright.com.
Welcome back to Success Profiles Radio. So many people live their lives wanting more than they currently have. And this show will clearly demonstrate the principles, if I can do it, you can do it. So let's get back to the show. This is Success Profiles Radio. And here again is your host, Brian K. Wright.
Are we okay?
Hey, Brian, you with me? I can't hear you.
Yes, I'm here now. I,
Okay,
I
no
got
worries.
I got booted out. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Just start up as if the tune just came in, okay?
Okay. And we are back. This is Success Profiles Radio. I don't have a guest today. I'm just here talking to you by myself about some of the greatest lessons that I've learned along my journey. And I'm looking forward to continuing this discussion right now. Number 6, sometimes the most productive thing you can do is to say no to something. So, how do you decide who to say yes or no to? I ask my guests this almost every single week, and I love the responses I get. Most of the time, the answer I get has something to do with, does that thing take you closer to your goal? If it takes you closer to your goal, it should be a yes. If it takes you away from your goal, it's distracting, it should be a no. Another consideration is the person who's asking you. Do you vibe with them or not? Do you want to spend time with them helping them with the thing they ask you with? And if the answer is no, then that should be run away now. You don't want to spend a lot of time with people who drain your energy. And the other thing to think about too, in terms of do you say yes or no to something, is does the ask benefit them more than it benefits you? If you are being asked to give your precious time, are you getting anything out of it? Now, yes, there are times where you should give. I'm not saying don't give. But if you make a habit out of giving and there's no tangible benefit to you anywhere along the line, you should consider saying no. In fact, when you start your business, you're probably going to say yes to a lot of things because you're trying to get traction. But once you have a lot of momentum and people start asking you for things, they want to collaborate with you, they want you to be on their show, they want you to speak at their event. If it doesn't move the needle for you, then don't do it. In fact, when I interviewed Sharon Lecter, she says, I usually don't do anything unless I know how to make money from it somewhere, somehow. And that's really great. And she can say something like that because she's far enough along in her journey in her business. She's well known. A lot of people want her time. And she has to be very judicious about that. And as we move along in our journey, we have to be very judicious too. So, what's going to move you closer to your goal? Is it saying yes to that thing or is it saying no? The further along you get, the more often you're going to say no. And don't be afraid to do so and don't feel bad. Number 7, take 100% responsibility for where you are in life. If you are experiencing some hardship right now, a lot of factors probably played into it. But ultimately, you did or said something that played a part. Identify the part that you played and resolve to address it going forward. If the idea is that you are going to blame someone or something for that situation, you are giving that person or that situation a lot of power over your life. And that's not a great place to be. You need to take charge of your life, and the only way you can do that is to take 100% responsibility. 100% responsibility for where you are. If someone did something to you, you still own a part of it. Figure out what that is and resolve to move on. Number 8, a couple years ago, I started writing down the night before what I want to accomplish today. When you write it down the night before, you don't have to think about your day before you start it. You can just go for it. And I'll tell you what, it really helps me a lot because when I sit down at my desk the next morning, my list is already there and I'm ready to go. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to spend mental energy on it. Because think about this, if you write down the day before what you need to do, your brain works at night for ways for those things to happen for you. And so if you wait until the day of, you're losing 8 hours of brain power that you could be utilizing in your sleep. Your brain will subconsciously guide you where you should go when you wake up. So write down what you need to do the night before. Number 9, you will experience temptations to compare yourself to others. Super successful people aren't any more special than you are. They just figured out some things faster than you did, and that's really it. If someone has a $100 billion company or $100 million company and you're just starting, don't compare yourself. They started where you did at one time. They didn't know how they were going to do it. They just figured it out as they went. They figured out who they needed in their life to learn from. What mentors could they learn from? What resources could they get, whether it's books or podcasts to listen to? What events should they go to? What mentor should they have? Who should they surround themselves with? But they figured it out, and they failed a lot on the way there. It's never a straight line. Never, never, never a straight line to success. You are going to stop and you're going to fail and you're going to stumble, but the winner's the one who keeps getting up. It's like a heavyweight fight. You might get knocked down, but you have until the count of 10 to get up. If 10 happens, you're done. But if you get up before 10, you still have a chance and you're still in the game. So resist the temptation to compare yourself with others. It's a disservice to you to compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. Number 10, the best way to get yourself out of a bad state of mind is to focus on doing something for someone else. There's always a blessing in giving to someone else, whether it is your time, whether it is a resource, whether it's a little bit of money, whatever the case happens to be. But sometimes giving someone the gift of your time can be the best thing you can do for someone. Sometimes giving a resource to someone is the best way you can give to someone. Giving a connection to someone who needs it. In fact, I had a chance to give a very close friend of mine a connection. He's writing a story about a film documentary that both of us have seen, and it's really good. And I connected him with someone who does PR. And so they are going to connect and have a conversation about how to make that possible. So sometimes giving your connections to people can be the best thing you do. But to get yourself out of a bad state of mind, focus on doing something for someone else. I promise it'll help a lot. Number 11, when you're in survival mode instead of thrive mode, the questions you ask yourself are a lot different. Are you deciding based on what you need to get through this day? Or are you deciding based on what can happen in the future? Because I promise, if you were in survival mode, you were trying to figure out how to get through this day. If you were in thrive mode, you are making decisions based on how it will benefit your future. Whether it's investing in a new program, whether it's starting a brand new leg in your business, whether it's connecting with a coach, whether it's going to an event. Spending and investing the money in a mentor or in a coach or an event or in new technology for your business might appear to be an expense today, but it's something that's going to pay you huge dividends in the future. That's when you're spending money and investing money to thrive instead of survive. Number 12, you earn the right to ask for something by being a giver first. Imagine asking someone for a big favor, someone that you don't know very well. Are they likely to give to you? The answer to that might very well be no. If they know who you are, then you have the opportunity to talk to them about what they might need. Don't just go to them with your hand out. Give them a hand up. Maybe you know people they need to know. Maybe you have a resource you can share with them. Maybe you read or listened to a book that might benefit their journey. Maybe you can help them promote their new book by hosting a podcast just like this. And I've done this with many, many, many people, hundreds of people. In fact, this is episode number 655. I've interviewed hundreds of people, both within this show and outside this show. But you earn the right to ask by giving something first. Number 13, those who cannot keep small commitments will not help your big dreams come true. That is a truth that I have learned the hard way, because if you are asking someone to help you with your big dream and they have not proven themselves to be faithful with the very small things, that is going to be a problem, because if they can't help you with the small things, why would they help you with the big things? So that's an excellent filter for knowing who's going to be with you on the journey when you accomplish your big goal. The people who cannot or will not help you with the small things don't deserve to be on that journey or to benefit from the fruit of your labor once you've accomplished it. Number 14, don't base your decisions on the advice of those who don't have to deal with the results. There are many, many people out there who might post about a problem or a challenge they're having, and they post it on social media and they get all kinds of advice. Some of the advice is good, some of the advice is downright terrible, but just about everyone who's offering their piece of the pie doesn't have to deal with the results of the choice you ultimately have to make. So let that be your filter. Do they have to deal with the result of the bad advice or the good advice that they've given you? Chances are the answer is no. So don't base your decision on the advice of those who don't have to deal with the results. Be very judicious about whose advice you actually take. Number 15, you are not required to explain your journey to someone who's not committed to understanding it. Sometimes people may wonder, why did you do this? How come you're doing that? And you know darn good and well that if you try to explain it to you, it'll be absolutely futile, because they don't understand, they're not committed to it, they're not walking the same path you made. If you are running a business and you are explaining your business decisions to someone who is a W-2 employee, your explanation will never make sense no matter how many times you try to explain it or how many different ways you try to explain it. Just be very, very careful about who you explain yourself to, because chances are most of the time they aren't going to understand it anyway, and they really don't care. Sometimes when they ask you how you're doing, they don't really care. They're just curious. They're fishing for something to use against you, or they're fishing for something to gossip about. So even when someone senses that you're having a bad day, be very careful about who you share your troubles to, because if they are not part of the problem and they're not part of the solution, it's none of their business. Really, truly, it's not. Number 16, focus is a superpower. When you can learn to do fewer things and be excellent at them, you will surpass those who try to do everything. We all know there are people out there who try to be a jack of all trades. In fact, sometimes on social media, I will see someone who's promoting a new business that they've started, and 3 months later, they're promoting a brand new business that they've started, and 3 months later, they're promoting something brand new that they're doing. And I'm watching this unfold in real time, and I'm beginning to wonder, what is it that you actually are doing to serve the world? It lessens my confidence that hiring them for anything would be a really good idea, because they can't make up their mind on what they actually want to do. So be focused. Don't try to do everything. When you can focus on a few things and be really good at them, you will surpass those who try to do everything. And that is the truth. Number 17, be careful about who you open up to. And I talked about this just a second ago. Only if you actually care, the rest are curious. If someone isn't part of your problem or part of the solution, it's really none of their business. Number 18, be very specific about your goals. Know exactly what you want to do and by when. For example, travel agents want to help you book your vacation, but they have to know where you want to go. They want to know how you want to get there, and they want to know how long you plan on staying. They can't help you book your trip if you don't have a destination. It's like throwing darts at a target that you haven't identified. They can't help you come back home if they don't know when you plan to come back, and they don't know how to book the trip if they don't know how you plan on getting there. Do you want to take a bus? Do you want to rent a car? Do you want to fly? Do you want to take a boat, go on a cruise? How do you plan on getting to Mexico? You can get there any of those ways, but you need to be very specific. So be specific about what you want. Number 19, make a list of the most significant wins you've had in your life. I would advocate splitting your life into 10-year increments if it's easier to do your list. You are winning a lot more than you think you are. So, for example, one of my very close friends and I decided together that we would come up with 100 wins that we've had in our lives. And I said, here's a suggestion. Split some of those wins into the 0 to 10-year-old time frame, the 10-year to 20-year-old time frame, the 20 to 30-year-old time frame, and go as far as you need for as old as you are, and come up with as many wins in each age bracket as you can. You've won more than you think you do. Sometimes that relationship that you got out of is actually a win because they were toxic. Sometimes it's great to be out of that relationship because they were lying to you about something. Maybe that business that you separated from is actually a win. Sometimes the business you started is a win. Sometimes getting to $100,000 in your first year is a win. Sometimes hitting that $1 million win bracket is a win for you. But come up with as many significant wins as you can. In fact, I would advocate that you come up with 100 things that you have won at. Write them down. Keep that list in front of you, because when you feel utterly hopeless and powerless, you can look at 100 examples of where you won in life. Number 20, what products or services go before yours, after yours, or with yours? Those companies would be great partners for you, and that's wisdom from Jay Abraham. He helps people increase their revenue streams in their business, and if you have not read or listened to anything of Jay Abraham's, please do it. It's fantastic. For example, a flower shop. If you owned a flower shop, who else could you partner with? There are people in the chain of command, if you want to think about it like that, that everyone has to use when they're planning a wedding, for example. There are caterers, there are event venues, there are bridal shops, there are limo companies, there are travel agencies, there are videographers, there are photographers, and that's just if you're capitalizing on wedding planning. If you have a flower shop, there are specific holidays that will always need flowers. Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Easter. Funerals are another thing. Flower shops are going to be busy for funerals. They will be asked for flowers during funerals. So there are many, many legs to the flower business. Think about who needs you before they get to you, after they get to you, and during their time with you. That's a way to leverage partnerships, JV agreements. So people who are working with a travel agent might agree to work with you if you agree to trade referrals with each other. You can do that with event planners. You can use that with videographers and photographers. You can use that with bridal shops. You can use that with limo companies. The possibilities are endless. So think about who goes before you, with you, or after you when you are doing your business. And those can be great JV partners. And that can be something that you can capitalize on. And number 21, if you become really good at something you don't want to do, chances are you're going to be asked to do a lot more of it. In fact, before I started doing what I was doing now, I worked in call centers. I was pretty good on the phone. I was pretty good at doing payroll for the company I worked with. But if you find that you're getting burned out on it and that's all you're doing, chances are people are only going to want to hire you to do the thing that you're now burned out on. So be very careful about what you get really good at. Find something that you want to do and get really good at that, and then you're on your way. We will be right back.
The mission is to motivate and inspire others to discover their unique talents and follow their dreams in life. This is Success Profiles Radio.
If you are in business, what is the number one thing that stops revenue growth? Not having enough leads. Data is the new gold rush. With phone sites, that is never an issue. You can generate as many leads as you want without paying a lead broker. With phone sites, you can build a website or sales funnel from your mobile device in 5 minutes or less without any technical skills or without downloading an app. It's easy and you have nothing to lose. Try it for free for 14 days at phonesites.com/Brian. Once again, that's phonesites.com/Brian.
Welcome back to Success Profiles Radio. So many people live their lives wanting more than they currently have. And this show will clearly demonstrate the principles, if I can do it, you can do it. So let's get back to the show. This is Success Profiles Radio. And here again is your host, Brian K. Wright.
And we're back. This is Success Profiles Radio. It is just you and me this week. I don't have a guest. I'm sharing some of the greatest lessons I've learned throughout my journey. And if you have not subscribed to Ultimate Achievers Magazine, please do that at ultimateachieversmagazine.com. We are working on the July issue right now. We hope to have that ready in the next maybe 10 days or so. But you can read every single issue we've done so far, dating all the way back to December 2017, when Kevin Harrington was the very first featured guest. So go to ultimateachieversmagazine.com to subscribe today. You'll be so glad you did. Continuing with the lessons I've learned along the way. Number 22, how can I turn my annual income into a monthly income? I sometimes ask guests this question. So there are several things to consider. What products or services are you offering? The key is to offer something that either everybody wants, or number two, pick your niche. Maybe you want to pick something that only high earners want. So maybe that might be high-end things like high-end cars. I don't want to necessarily say timeshares, but things like that, or buying investment property, buying luxury real estate, for example, cruises, things that high earners want to take advantage of. Maybe your niche is very, very specialized. I mean, if you think about Shark Tank, for example, those people are on Shark Tank to get money for a specific need, that their company is filling a specific need, and sometimes the sharks will say, this isn't a big enough problem for me to solve, so I'm going to be out. But if you want to turn your annual income into monthly income, you're going to have a team. You can't do it all by yourself. So you might have to have salespeople, you might have to have administrative staff, you might have to have appointment setters, you're going to have people to fulfill that. You might have to have multiple people reaching out, whether it's calling, whether it's door to door, whether it's mailing. But you're going to have a way to get leads, and then you're going to have a way to respond to those leads, and you're going to have enough people to call on those leads to sell them. So turning your annual income into monthly income means multiplying yourself, multiplying your efforts, and having an offer that's really, really good. That helps a lot. So hire a team. You don't have to do it all yourself. Another idea is to offer things that require monthly or annual continuity. Because Scott Duffy talked about this on the show. The way that you make your company ultimately more valuable is to have some kind of a monthly subscription or continuity plan. In fact, companies that have recurring revenue are 5 times more valuable than companies that rely solely on the one-off feature, because if you're relying on one-off sales all the time, that means you're having to find new customers all the time. So how can you convert those one-off customers into a subscription plan? In fact, I had a guest, Mark Parrish, on recently, and he owns 22 McDonald's stores, and I asked him about McDonald's experimenting with a monthly subscription plan, and he said, yeah, they're going to toy around with that, where you pay $50 or $60 a month, where you can eat once a week, and you pay a monthly subscription and you can go and eat as much as you want once a week. That'll be very, very interesting to see how that pans out. But you can turn just about anything into a monthly subscription plan if you get really creative. Automate as much as possible. If you can use AI, or you can use systems that automate what you do, that means that less of your time is required. And finally, make offerings one-to-many instead of one-to-one. Maybe it's a webinar, maybe it's speaking at an event, maybe it's writing a book that contains a call to action. But if you are speaking to many, many people, perhaps an audience of 50 or 100 or 200, and you make one offer, a bunch of people might take advantage of that offer. So again, make offers one-to-many instead of one-to-one. Those are all ways that you can multiply your income. Number 23, I listened to a book about a year or two ago by Keith Cunningham called The Road Less Stupid. Near the beginning of his book, he asked a really impactful question. If you could unwind your 3 biggest financial mistakes, how much extra money would you have right now? That's a scary question, because I've made some really dumb mistakes with money, and I'm sure all of you listening probably have too. In fact, if you hear the show enough times, you know that I do ask people, what is the most expensive mistake you've ever made? Sometimes that mistake is financial. Sometimes that mistake is not starting something soon enough. Sometimes that mistake is hanging on to something for way too long. Sometimes that mistake is not unlearning something fast enough. But if you unwind your 3 biggest mistakes, your financial mistakes, you might find that you probably would have a lot of extra money laying around. And I'm not even counting the opportunity cost of what you could have done with that money instead. But how much extra money would you have if you could undo your 3 worst financial decisions? The answer might make you mad. But as I continued listening to that book, The Road Less Stupid, the premise of that book is the best way to achieve wealth is to avoid and stop doing really dumb things. So listen to that book, The Road Less Stupid. It's really impactful, and it's no nonsense, and it's definitely an idea worth thinking about. Number 24, the best part about going to high-level events isn't necessarily the keynote speakers. Sometimes it's the networking and the mastermind breakout sessions, because that means you are mingling around with other people who are already in your audience and you are learning the things that they're doing. In fact, sometimes learning from your peers is a lot more impactful because they're in the trenches with you. And when you are in mastermind breakout sessions, you get to be in a circle of maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 people, and everyone gets a chance to take turns, and you get to discuss your situation, and you get to ask what you need to know. And sometimes the best thing you can do is to learn from other people. Number 25, it's not just about what you're willing to do to achieve your goals. It's about what you're willing to stop doing. In fact, I recently lost almost 60 pounds in the last 12 months. And it wasn't always about what I was doing, it's about what I was willing to give up. For example, I was eating ice cream every day, sometimes twice. That's a lot of sugar. And when I stopped eating ice cream that often and cut back to once every 7 to 10 days, that made a difference all by itself. Instead of eating cereal for breakfast every day, I decided to start eating 3 scrambled eggs in a bowl of yogurt, and I would mix protein powder in it. That's my breakfast of champions. I'm getting a lot more protein, a lot less carbs, and if you can feed your body protein more often, that's going to help a lot. I am not a nutritionist. I am not a personal trainer. I can simply say these are things that worked for me. And I started walking an hour every single day. But it's not always about the things you're willing to do, although that does help, but it's what are you willing to give up? That's what can help you get your goal. Number 6, when faced with two relatively equal choices, do the thing that makes the better story. And I remember way back in the day when Anderson Cooper was interviewing Simon Cowell on 60 Minutes, and I've told this story on the show before too. It was after the first season of American Idol. Simon Cowell was now famous. No one knew him in America until American Idol. After the first season, he was on 60 Minutes with Anderson Cooper. And he was asked, have you been asked to judge anything unusual? And Simon said that he was asked by a newlywed couple to judge them having their tenderness, and he said no. He was offered $10,000. He said no. And then in retrospect, he said, maybe I should have said yes, not because I needed the money, but because it would have just made for a much, much better story right now. So if you were presented with a yes-no option, which option is going to give you the better story? If you are given an option between two relatively equal things, which thing would make a better story later? It makes you a more interesting person, so why not pick the more interesting thing given two equal choices? Number 6, it's great to have clients who will pay you. It's also very important your clients are a good fit for you energetically. Your sanity and peace of mind should never be for sale. I had a client once that I've had a couple of clients that I had to fire one time. One of them decided on a 6-month project that he needed to have a meeting every single week. I am not here to be micromanaged by you. I don't care how much money you pay me, but I eventually ended up giving the guy a full refund because energetically it wasn't a great match. And I'll tell you what, giving money back has never felt so good. I had another client who I made the mistake of putting on a monthly payment plan. He lost his job 30 days afterwards. He got a new job 30 days later, didn't bother to tell me. All I know is that he didn't start paying me again. Then he started demanding the work. And I said, you haven't started paying me yet. And he said, I'm not going to pay you until you give me the work. And I said, no, that's not how this works, Scooter. You're going to start paying me again, and then I'll start working for you again, because I've been burned before. If I present you with the completed project and you haven't paid me, you may end up not paying me anyway, and I've given you my work. So no, that's not how this is going to work. And by the way, I don't do monthly payment plans, in case you plan on asking. But it's great to have clients who will pay you, but it's also way more important for that client to be a good, energetic fit. Number 28, if you aren't experiencing the cash flow you want, you probably aren't making enough offers. So what offer can you make to your audience today, and who will you make that offer to? If you've got the right offer to the right audience at the right time with the right network, and it's an offer that people need, that's your secret sauce. So what offer are you going to make to your audience today, and who are you going to make that offer to? That will help you a lot. Number 29, activate your old client base and ask them to buy from you again. If they had a great experience from you before, it should be a slam dunk. So why wouldn't you ask your old clients to buy something from you again, unless they didn't have a good experience with you, in which case you should probably fix that. But reactivate your old client base. There's money sitting there that you probably had no idea about. Number 30, hire the right coach. I frequently ask my guests about their criteria for hiring the right coach, and I'll tell you my criteria. I hire people who have been there and done that and are still doing it. That's important. Number 2, I'm hiring someone who is where I want to be and has been where I want to be. And number 3, I have to like you if I'm going to hire you to be my coach, because if I drain, or if I am drained being around you, or I dread being around you, I don't want to be around you, and I'm going to probably fire you. So after a while, you do outgrow your coach. In fact, one time I had a personal trainer, and I told him eventually I was going to have to buy a new car because I was driving a car that I had to fix up every single month. And this was back in the late 90s. So this was a long, long time ago. And about 4 months into this, I finally had to choose buying a car instead of paying my trainer. My trainer got upset. I said, I told you when I started that I was eventually going to have to make this choice. So you've given me enough to go with. I'm very grateful for the part of the journey that you've played, but I have to buy a car now. And so I end up parting ways with that trainer. So have the right coach. Sometimes you're going to be with that coach forever. Sometimes you'll be with that coach for a season. Sometimes you'll need a coach just for a very specific thing. And the both of you will know that immediately. You're hiring them for a specific thing. And when that thing is done, you part ways. And maybe you hire them for something else later. Number 31. Have one inspiring conversation every single day. And I've shared this on the show a few times, but I had a guest really early on in my first or second year. And at the end of the show, I asked him for his final thoughts. And he said, have an inspiring conversation with one person every single day. And that changed my life. And that was basically a throwaway piece of advice that this guest gave me at the end of the show. But it's something that has moved me and it has inspired me. And so I make sure that I have a chat or a talk with someone who inspires me every single day. And we're coming up on our final break. I can't believe how that fast this is going. We have a lot more to talk about when we return. We're going to talk about feeding your mind positively. We're going to talk about focusing on what's good. What's good. And we're going to talk about having big goals that scare you and so much more. We will be right back. This is Success Profiles Radio. Please join us in a moment. We'll be right back.
The mission is to motivate and inspire others to discover their unique talents and follow their dreams in life. This is Success Profiles Radio.
Have you ever thought about writing a book? Surveys show that 81% of people wish they could, but many never do. If you're one of those people, I can tell you why. You don't think you have time, you may not know how, or you might not believe you are a good enough writer. When you're working with an experienced coach, these reasons go away because I will help you every step of the way. If you want to know more about how to write a nonfiction book, whether it's business, self-help, or how-to, reach out to me at www.briankwright.com for more information. Once again, that's briankwright.com.
Welcome back to Success Profiles Radio. So many people live their lives wanting more than they currently have. And this show will clearly demonstrate the principles, if I can do it, you can do it. So let's get back to the show. This is Success Profiles Radio. And here again is your host, Brian K. Wright.
And we're back. Down the stretch we come. It's just you and me this week, and we're talking about some of the most impactful things that I've learned in my journey. And if you have not downloaded and subscribed to Success Profiles Radio on Apple Podcasts or iTunes, please do that. Leave 5 stars, leave a review, and you can even leave 5 stars on Spotify. And follow me on Spotify at Success Profiles Radio. Please do that. That would be very, very meaningful to us. And we continue. Number 32, feed your mind positivity every single day. I make it a point in my morning routine to listen to an audio every single day for at least 30 minutes, whether that's on YouTube, whether that's on Audible, something inspiring. And it really does make a difference. In fact, right now I'm listening to Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. I listened to that, or I read that book in physical form back in the early 90s. And one of the early chapters talked about making a decision today. And because of that chapter, I joined a gym for the very first time. So I remember that lesson even now. And so that book continues to inspire. It's called Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. Please use an Audible credit to buy that. If you haven't, it's really fantastic. Number 33, focus on what's good. Let's just say, for example, there are 100 things going on in your life right now. And maybe only 4 of them are terrible. 96 of them are really good. You've got a place to live. You've got something to eat every day. You're with a good partner. You've got great kids. You love your family. You've got a job. You've got enough to pay your bills and then some. 96 things out of those 100 are great. But what do we focus on? We tend to focus on the 4 things that are wrong. And that can spin us out of control if we don't be careful about that. So be sure to focus on what's good. In fact, it's actually very, very biblical. In Philippians, it says to focus on what is true, on what is noble, on what is pure, on what is right, and all the things. So focus on what's good. I promise your mind and your heart will be protected when you do. Number 34, have big goals that scare you. Focus on how you can accomplish this and who you need to know and what resources you need to have. If a goal doesn't scare you, it's not going to excite you. And if it doesn't excite you, you're not going to want to do it. In fact, you're probably going to give up when you don't feel like it, or you'll take a day off, or you'll realize that maybe this just isn't really moving me in the right direction. But if you have a goal that scares you, maybe that's a sign that you're being moved into a place where great growth can happen for you in your business or in your life. So have a big goal that scares you and watch what happens when you focus on who you need to know to help you and what resources you need to have, what you need to read, what you need to listen to, what steps you need to take. Number 35, you may be rejected many times before you hear the yes that changes your life. Keep going. This is true in sales. You might hear no from 100 people in a row before you hear yes. In fact, one of my favorite examples of this is Colonel Sanders. When he retired, he realized his Social Security check was nowhere near what he needed, and he decided that since he had a chicken recipe that was delicious, he was going to start asking restaurants if they would be willing to use his chicken recipe in their restaurant in exchange for a royalty. And he had a whole bunch of people say no. In fact, I think he had 1,009 no's before he got to yes. And so he persisted. He knew that someone out there had to say yes. There are 8 billion people in the world. You only need one person to say yes that could completely change your life. And so don't give up just because a lot of people are saying no. Maybe you're just fishing in the wrong pond. Someone out there will say yes. If you've got an idea that you believe in, don't give up. Number 36, when you surround yourself with the right people, amazing things can happen. Your mindset can shift. The connections you make, the deals that can get made can be life-changing. Ask yourself where you want to be in the next 5 years and get in the right rooms, be with the right people, listen to this show, listen to the guests that I have. I always ask my guests, how can we learn from you? How can we try with you and vibe with you? I hope that if it's a guest that you enjoyed listening to, that you are actually looking them up and finding out how you can learn more from them. Reach out to them on social media. They will talk to you. They are accessible to you just like they're accessible to me. So get in the right rooms. Go back and listen to past episodes of this show. If there's a guest who is expert in something that resonates with you, listen to that episode. I don't care if that show happened in 2012. That's when we started, by the way. Somebody out there has something that you want or need. So get in the right room. Be around the right people. Ask yourself where you want to be in 5 years. In fact, I listened to a Brian Tracy audio once, and he mentioned that when he consults with businesses and does strategic planning with them, that's the biggest question he asks his clients. Where do you want your company to be 5 years from now? He told them to write the names. He told his company, he told these companies, as you look around you and who's in this corporation, which employees are here when you fulfill those goals in the next 5 years or less. And he told them to write down the names of the people who are still here. And then he asked, which of your employees will not be here when you achieve your goals? And then he went for the kill. Why are those people still around? Ouch. We should all be a bit brutal in our assessment of those we choose to be around, because if the majority of people you're hanging around with right now can't or won't help you get to where you want to be, it's time to make a major assessment of your circle. Make that circle smaller. I keep my inner circle really small. There are maybe 3 or 4 people that I make sure that I talk to on a very, very regular basis. And those are the people that usually have the most impact in my life and my journey. They get me to think bigger, and they encourage me to keep going when I feel like giving up. So make an assessment of that circle. Number 37, have high standards for yourself. A long time ago, I taught in a 2-year business college in Lincoln, Nebraska, and one of the courses I taught was public speaking. At the beginning of one particular term, a student decided to tell me on day 1 in front of the class that he heard that I was an easy grader. Side note, never ever say that to an instructor. Parallel example, if you're a guy and you go into a bar and you walk up to a pretty girl and you say, I hear you're easy, what response do you think you're going to get from her? You'll probably get slapped in the face, and rightfully so. Don't tell an instructor that he or she is an easy grader. You probably have just put a target on your back. So I told the class that I didn't think it was true, that I was an easy grader, because if you show up every day and do the assigned work, you'll probably get at least a C, and maybe that's all this student really wanted. Then I added, but if your standards are a lot higher than mine, you may have a chance to get an A. I've never said that before, and I haven't said it since, but I wanted that group of students to commit to excellence. I didn't specify what those higher standards were. I preferred to let their imagines run wild, and it worked. In a typical group of 20 students, maybe 4 or 5 of them would get an A in my class. This class had 8 people earn an A, and it was by far the best group I ever taught. Not every class would have received that message, but I wanted this group to elevate what they were willing to accept for themselves. And all these years later, I remember that group more than any other. Having higher standards than everyone else will do that. Number 38, you haven't met all the people in your life who will love you yet. I'm not talking about marriage. I'm talking about people who will love and appreciate you for who you are. All the people who will love you in your life still are out there, and you haven't met them yet. So don't give up. Have people around you who are willing to love you and accept you for who you are, but make sure that those people are willing to push you to be something greater. We've said that earlier in the show. But there are still people out there who don't know you yet, who might end up being really fantastic friends. So please continue meeting people. You will not regret it. Number 39. Do not expect to be highly compensated for doing something that anyone can do. Specialization beats generalization every single time. It really will. I mean, you think about people in fast food who are now demanding a $20 or $25 an hour salary. It's not going to work, because if you have to pay someone $25 an hour at McDonald's, they're going to have to raise the prices in parallel with that. That's why you see kiosks in McDonald's now. If you specialize, you have a much better chance of earning a lot more money. And the last thing that I want to share with you today as we wind down is that if you are going through something, trust me, God cares way more about the thing that you're worried about than you do. He's a big God. He's here. He's here to help you. He's here to love you right where you're at. Please reach out to him, pray regularly, ask God for wisdom, because he promises that if you ask for wisdom above else, everything else will be added to you. And that is our show for today. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you. And join us every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern, where I will resume interviewing world-class achievers, learning what they learned, the journey they went through, and what we can learn by what they've overcome. Take care, everyone. Have a great week. Goodbye.
Thank you for being